Atsumu stood quietly as the live stream played. A girl's voice was full of joy. She said the stage was dazzling, like a dream where stars shine. She felt like a different person when performing. But Atsumu was not like her. He didn't want fame or shine. He only wanted a peaceful, simple youth. Just time with friends, laughter, and calm days. He had 7 sisters. Every one of them was famous. They were singers, dancers, idols, people loved by the world. Atsumu stayed behind the scenes, helping them quietly. That was his role, or Soki thought. On his 18th birthday, Atsumu returned home. A cake was waiting for him, but it was not a happy cake. It had a skull on it. His mother smiled and said they were celebrating. She told Atsumu he was no longer part of the family. He blinked, confused. He asked what she meant. He wondered if this was a joke. Maybe a surprise party? But his sisters laughed at him. One said he was trash. She was ashamed to be his twin. Another said it was hard to believe they were related. They all mocked him, one after another. One sister said she would die of embarrassment if she were him. Another said only the strong belonged in this house. He was not one of them. Even his mother joined in. She said men were just filthy pigs. They had no place in the family. Atsumu felt his chest tighten. He asked if anyone would speak up for him. But no one did. He begged them to reconsider. He said he knew he was weak, but he had always done his best. He had supported them from the shadows. He didn't want to lose the bond they shared. But they only laughed harder. His sister told him he was never part of their family. Not even once. Atsumu stared at them. He couldn't believe it. They had lived together for years. His mother said they only kept him because of a rule. Their grandmothers will said they could only use her money if they raised Atsumu until he turned 18. Now that the day had come, they no longer needed him. There was no love, no care, only duty, and now, even that was over. She called him slow, useless, and stupid. She said they had suffered because of him. But now it was done. It was time to celebrate his farewell. Atsumu stood still. He had believed that if he worked hard, one day they would see him as family. But he was wrong. His mother told him to leave his phone and tools behind. They didn't want him leaking anything. He agreed. He wouldn't fight. He wouldn't cry. He would give them one last help. Leave without causing trouble. His sister said it was good riddance. She was tired of waiting for this day. Atsumu bowed his head. He thanked them. Then he walked out. He looked back at the house. The memories now burned and empty. He said goodbye. That day, his 18th birthday, he was thrown away by the people who had raised him. But as he walked into the night, Atsumu didn't know yet. Something was about to change. A small encounter was waiting ahead, and from that moment, the story of a boy with no family, who was only good at helping others, would begin again. Atsumu's journey to live an ordinary youth had just begun. In a quiet room, Atsumu sat alone. His heart was heavy. He thought that he only wanted to live a normal life, but even that small wish couldn't come true. He had been kicked out by his family. Now he had no home, no money, and no one left. It was the beginning of his rock-bottom life. Later, in the school chairman's office, Atsumu stood with calm eyes. He said he wanted to drop out of school. The chairman looked surprised, but before anything else could happen, a voice shouted. A girl entered the room. She said she couldn't accept this. She asked why Atsumu, who had suffered so much, had to be expelled. Atsumu turned to her and said thank you for being angry for him. The girl told him to stop calling her so formally. Her name was Asuka. Asuka was no ordinary girl. She was an idol. Atsumu had seen her a few times while working behind the scenes. She was the leader of the most famous idol group in Japan. Just one smile from her could steal anyone's heart. She was fearless, beautiful, and talented. Atsumu couldn't believe she was standing in front of him, worrying about someone like him. He thought she was so kind. That's what made her a true top idol. But the chairman, who was also Asuka's mother, asked her to calm down. Asuka called her mom, but the chairman reminded her that Atsumu had already made up his mind. Then she asked Atsumu gently if there was another reason he wanted to quit. Atsumu thought for a moment. Then he said there was no reason. Everyone went silent. Asuka shouted, asking if he was messing with her. Atsumu said that wasn't it. He just felt guilty. He explained that the academy was a special school for people chasing big dreams. It had special programs and famous students. Everyone there was serious. But he was leaving the entertainment world, so if he kept attending, he would feel like he was being disrespectful. And he hated that. He said he was barely coming to school anyway, so it was like he had already dropped out. Asuka shook her head. She said that was the problem. She asked how many people helped him support 7 famous sisters. Atsumu didn't understand at first. She said it must have taken a huge team. Managers, editors, planners. There was no way one person could handle it all. He replied softly. He said it was just him. Everyone froze. Asuka couldn't believe it. She said it wasn't possible. But Atsumu explained he had been doing it all since before they were even famous. He added that he wasn't very skilled anyway. Then he asked Asuka why she was even there. He said she didn't need to get involved just because her mother was the chairman. Asuka looked away. She said it wasn't just that. The chairman smiled. She revealed that Asuka had told the school guard to notify her if Atsumu ever showed up. Asuka got flustered. She tried to deny it. Her mom said she was cute. Asuka got even more embarrassed and told her to stop calling her that. Atsumu looked at her and wondered what she really wanted from him. He thought she was just too cute. The chairman cleared her throat. She said she had one last question for him. Now that he would live freely, what did he want to do next? Atsumu paused. Then he thought deeply. He had spent all his time supporting others. He had never lived like a normal teenager. So now he wanted to go to a regular school. He wanted to study, make friends, and maybe even get a girlfriend. He just wanted to enjoy an ordinary youth. The chairman nodded. She said she knew the perfect school for him. A few hours later, Atsumu arrived at a new town. He looked around. Everything felt new and strange. He said this would be his new home. The chairman had been kind. She arranged his transfer and even gave him a dorm room. She said helping Atsumu might help Asuka too. She even offered to pay for his rent and expenses for now. Atsumu felt lucky. He had thought he would be left with nothing. But somehow he had people helping him. He decided he would work part-time and repay the kindness while still studying. A lot had happened yesterday, but now his dream of a normal school life was finally starting. Just as he arrived at the school gate, he saw 3 people standing nearby. 2 boys were teasing a girl. One of them called out, asking why she was ignoring them. They asked her to have tea with them. They were bothering her. Atsumu stopped and stared. He thought maybe this town wasn't safe after all, but he also thought if he got involved in a fight, he'd be crushed. He wasn't strong. Then he threw away his bag. He ran forward without thinking. There was a girl in trouble, and he had to help her. Atsumu thought he had to act fast. There was a girl in trouble right in front of him. He stepped forward, grabbed one of the bully's wrists, and told him to stop. The bully looked annoyed and asked who he thought he was. He warned Atsumu to move unless he wanted to get hurt. Atsumu stood firm. He was a little shocked. The bully acted like he was the one causing trouble. Atsumu blinked and wondered if maybe he had misunderstood something. But deep down, he knew what he saw was real. He told the girl not to worry. He wouldn't let her get hurt. The bully's face twisted with anger. He shouted and swung his fist. Atsumu dodged the punch. Then he grabbed the bully's arm and used a clean rescue throw. The bully hit the ground with a thud. He lay there stunned. He wasn't hurt, but he couldn't believe what just happened. Atsumu said calmly that it was a kotegeshi, a basic aikido technique. He added that he knew a few more moves too, just in case they still wanted to fight. The bullies backed away, their confidence broken. One of them muttered a threat and ran. The other chased after him, shouting not to lead him behind. Atsumu finally relaxed and let out a breath. He had trained for years to protect his sisters from stalkers and dangerous people. As idols and celebrities, his sisters had always been at risk. That's why Atsumu had learned martial arts like aikido. But those days were long gone now. Then he heard a voice behind him. The girl called out, "Hey you." He turned around and saw her clearly for the first time. She smiled and thanked him for helping her. Her voice was soft and kind. Atsumu stood frozen. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Her name was Himeji. She wasn't just cute. She was breathtaking. Her face, her figure, everything about her felt unreal, like she had stepped out of a dream. She looked like a perfect angel. She said again how glad she was. She really meant it. She said he saved her life. Atsumu blushed. He thought she might be exaggerating, but maybe she had been really scared. He gently patted her head and told her not to worry. It reminded him of the old days when he comforted his sisters the same way. Imji looked down, holding back tears. Realizing it might have been too sudden, Atsumu pulled his hand back quickly and apologized. She shook her head and said it was fine. She didn't mind. Atsumu thought it was so embarrassing that he had reached out without thinking. Then she spoke again and said she forgot to introduce herself. She said her name was Himeji and smiled brightly. Atsumu felt his heart skip. Even her name was adorable. He replied and said his name was Atsumu. He thought about how he was thrown out of his family the day before, so now he was using his father's surname. Suddenly, a sound echoed. His stomach growled loudly. He chuckled nervously and admitted he had only had a small nutrient drink in a while. Imiji looked surprised. She said that wasn't good at all. He would collapse if he didn't eat something soon. Then she smiled kindly. She said since he had done so much for her, she would be happy to treat him to a meal as thanks. Atsumu looked at her and nodded. He said yes. They walked together to a small diner nearby. It was nothing fancy, but it smelled warm and welcoming. Imiji ordered a set meal for Atsumu, and he thanked her quietly. As they waited for the food, Atsumu noticed how Himeji kept glancing at him. She seemed shy, but her eyes were full of gratitude. When the meal arrived, Atsumu dug in hungrily. It wasn't just about filling his stomach. The warmth of the food, the kindness of having someone beside him, made it taste even better. Himeji watched him eat and giggled softly. She said it looked like he hadn't eaten in days. Atsumu laughed, admitting it wasn't too far from the truth. Between bites, he asked her if she was alright now. Himeji nodded. She said she usually avoided walking in that alley, but she had taken a shortcut that day and regretted it. He was there then. Himeji agreed and added that it felt like fate. The word fate hung between them, making Atsumu's heart beat a little faster. He quickly changed the subject, asking where she was heading before the bullies showed up. Himeji explained she was on her way to buy some art supplies. She liked drawing and painting, though she said she wasn't very good. Atsumu said he would love to see her drawings someday. Himeji blushed and looked away, mumbling that maybe she could show him later. After they finished eating, they stepped outside. The sun had started to set, painting the sky in gentle orange and pink. Atsumu felt strangely peaceful. The trouble earlier felt like it had happened long ago. Before parting ways, Himeji thanked him once more. Atsumu smiled and told her to be careful on her way home. Himeji nodded, hesitated, then ran off, waving goodbye. Atsumu watched her until she disappeared from sight. His chest felt warm, a feeling he hadn't known in a long time. He realized he was smiling to himself. Turning back toward the road, Atsumu thought about how strange life was. Just yesterday, he had lost everything. Yet today, he had met someone like her. Maybe, he thought, things wouldn't be so bad after all. And with that quiet hope, Atsumu started walking home. He sat at the table, his eyes wide as he took a bite. He thought, so good. Is it really okay for me to be treated to such a feast? Himeji smiled and said of course. It was her way of thanking him. He had been invited to a family restaurant by the beautiful girl he helped earlier that day. Her name was Himeji, and she was kind, soft-spoken, and stunning. Atsumu bowed his head and said thank you again. Himeji nodded and said she had been really scared earlier. She couldn't even move. He replied that it was understandable. Anyone would be scared being surrounded like that. He remembered how it all started just a while ago, how he had stepped in to help her when she was being harassed by bullies. Now here they were sharing a meal. Atsumu rubbed the back of his neck and said, honestly, he just did what anyone would have done. He should be the one thanking her for the treat. But Himeji shook her head and said he was wrong. Atsumu wasn't sure if she actually said it aloud or if he imagined it. Either way, she was so cute that it left him speechless. She was tall, with a perfect figure, and had an aura that felt way too special for a normal schoolgirl. Just then, he heard some girls at a nearby table whispering. One said the girl sitting across from him was pretty. The other said maybe she was an actress or a model. They both said they were jealous. Atsumu thought, no wonder everyone's staring. She really is something else. A super beauty without a doubt. The waiter came with a special parfait and placed it in front of Himeji. She took out her phone and snapped a picture. Atsumu watched quietly and thought, she's so girlish and cute. Then another voice came from behind. Some girls whispered that the parfait was adorable, and it was surprising to see someone like her ordering it. Himeji suddenly looked down. She asked Atsumu if it was weird. He asked what was wrong. She said it was embarrassing. Even though people say she looks mature, she liked cute things. Atsumu smiled gently. He said that was great. A beautiful and graceful girl who also likes cute things. That was the best combination ever. He told her she had nothing to be embarrassed about. She was absolutely wonderful the way she was. Himeji blushed and said thank you. She really did love cute things. Atsumu chuckled and said she even had a cute voice. She looked surprised and asked, my voice? He nodded and said her voice reminded him of a VTuber he really liked. Suddenly, Himeji stood up with a light laugh and said she was going to get a drink. Atsumu thought he might have said something weird. Praising girls is tougher than I thought, he told himself. He looked around and thought about how strange it was being in a family restaurant without having a family anymore. Would someone think I'm weird? He wondered. It's called a family restaurant after all. Then Himeji returned. She gently asked if it was true that he didn't have a family. Atsumu froze. He thought he should have been more careful. Most people wouldn't just blurt that out. She apologized and said maybe it was too personal, but she added that she was worried. After all, he even mentioned only drinking a nutrient jelly. Atsumu sighed. He said it was kind of a long story, but asked if she would mind listening. She nodded. So he began telling her everything, about his famous sisters, about how he supported them, about how he was kicked out on his birthday. As he talked, he noticed tears forming in her eyes. She said it was just so sad. Atsumu tried to smile. He said it was okay, it couldn't be helped. He was useless after all. But Himeji wiped her tears and said no, that wasn't true. She said he wasn't useless. He had helped her when no one else did. To her, he was like a hero. He then fought to take back what he had said earlier. Atsumi sat there stunned. He thought that telling her everything was the right choice. He thanked her for today. She smiled and said thank you too. She hoped they could meet again. He nodded and said yes. After a while, they parted ways. So many unexpected things had happened that day. Atsumi walked under the evening sky and thought about his new school life. He was looking forward to it now. Still, he kept thinking about Himeji's voice. It was so familiar. Could she be doing something voice-related? He decided that if they ever met again, he'd ask her. At the same time, somewhere else, Himeji was now live on stream. She smiled at the camera. She greeted her viewers with a cheerful hello. She was Japan's streaming princess, the top VTuber, Shizuki. She said something amazing had happened that day, but the details? She said they were a secret for now. She giggled and said maybe she would tell the story someday. And with that, she said it was time to get started. The game screen lit up. The cheerful voice of Japan's #1 VTuber echoed through the stream. And just like that, Atsumi's new, ordinary youth had truly begun. That night, Atsumi lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling of his small dorm room. He thought about it again, his family, the house, the life he left behind. Even after everything, even knowing how they treated him, he couldn't stop wondering, did they feel anything at all after kicking me out? Even a little regret? A little sadness? He knew thinking about it was pointless, but the thoughts kept coming, because to Atsumi, they were still his precious family. Far away in the luxurious mansion he once called home, laughter filled the air. His fifth sister burst out laughing and said his face when he got disowned was priceless. She said it was the most pathetic thing she'd ever seen. Another sister said it was even funnier than a prank show. Someone else added that the best part was that it wasn't a prank. One said she wished she had recorded it. That would have gone viral. The fifth sister grinned and said she knew she was a genius. Someone else said getting rid of him was the best thing ever. Another added that the air even felt cleaner now. They all joked and laughed. One sister said she hated how he used to point out everything she ate. Even though she never gained weight, he still watched her diet. Another complained that he banned spicy food. She said she was a genius, like she'd ruin her voice eating something spicy. Another said she was mad about the selfie restrictions. Every time she posted, he made her retake the photos over and over. Someone else said she wasn't even allowed to use social media. She called herself a multi-talented celebrity. How could he restrict her? Then one of the quieter sisters was asked to speak. She said she didn't like to talk much, but he once turned down a major film offer for her. Everyone gasped. They were furious. They said that was a huge mistake. Without him, she could have been in Hollywood by now. Then one sister who was playing games said she didn't care much. She said she only supported a mysterious music producer called Five. She added that his last song blew up online, and it matched her voice perfectly. Saying songs by Five was enough to make her happy. Finally, the youngest, the seventh sister, was asked how she felt. She hugged her teddy and said she never wanted Atsumi to come back. The others stared. Someone thought, could it be she's even more angry than me? Then their mother stood up. She looked around and spoke clearly. She said that all of them had suffered because of that man. The sisters nodded and said, "Mother," she continued. She said their talents had been held back for too long, but now the obstacle was gone. She told them to shine freely from now on, without Atsumi getting in the way. The next morning, far away in Tokyo, the mood was much different. At the top floor of the entertainment agency, in the president's office, chaos was brewing. The secretary burst through the doors, upset. She asked why she wasn't informed about Atsumi being kicked out. She said this was a huge crisis for the agency. The president, Atsumi's mother, calmly said it wasn't worth discussing. It was a trivial matter, she said, nothing to waste time on. The secretary protested. She said Atsumi handled all the behind-the-scenes work. She was already overworked and couldn't take on more. But the president smiled and said she already found a replacement. Just then, the door opened. A girl entered the room. Someone whispered, "Speak of the devil." The girl introduced herself. Her name was Harima. She said she was sent from the academy's support department as an intern. The secretary was shocked. A student? An intern? She looked at the president in disbelief. She asked if the president really thought this girl could handle everything. The president smiled and said it was just 7 girls. If a failure like Atsumi could manage them, surely Harima could too. The secretary said nothing. Her heart sank. Harima nodded and said she would do her best. The president clapped and said she was counting on her. The secretary stood quietly. Her thoughts were heavy. There's no way this will work, she thought. Everything's going to fall apart. She took a breath and told herself to focus on her own tasks. She would handle the rest somehow, but deep inside she thought, Atsumi, we really need you. In school, a girl named Himeji was quietly putting her shoes in the rack. She was tall, beautiful, and had a serious face. Some boys nearby were talking about her. One boy said she was really cute. The other boy agreed and said he wished he could talk to her at least once. But the first boy warned him. He said there were rumors. Aimee never spoke to anyone. Even if someone tried to talk, she would just ignore them. Because of her looks and her cold attitude, people started calling her the Ice Queen. The second boy sighed and said it was no use trying. Talking to her was just a dream. Meanwhile, far away, Atsumu was waking up in his small dorm room. It was 4 a.m., and everything was quiet. He sat up and stretched. He thought he still had the habit of waking up early, just like before. His name was now Saka Segawa Atsumu. He was a third-year high school student. He had been kicked out of his home on his birthday, May 5th. Now he was staying at a dorm provided by a new school, thanks to the help of the chairman of his old one. At this early hour, the place was silent. He went out running in the park, feeling the cold morning breeze. While running, he thought about his past. He came from a famous family of entertainers. He had 7 sisters, all top-level celebrities. His mother was the president of the entertainment agency. Until just yesterday, he had been working day and night supporting all of them. He barely had time to sleep. That's why he still woke up after just 3 or 4 hours. Later, he cooked a simple meal and smiled at the perfect result. Living alone felt strange but kind of peaceful. He thought if he had a smartphone, he could watch VTuber videos. That would make things perfect. Suddenly, he remembered a voice he heard the other day. It sounded familiar. Soon, it was 6:40 a.m., still very early. Time felt slow. He hoped school life would be fun. At school, the speaker crackled. It was time to introduce a new student. Atsumu stepped into the classroom. He introduced himself politely and bowed. "I'm Atsumu. Please treat me well." The students stared. Someone whispered that he looked kind of handsome behind his bangs. Another said he looked small and cute. But someone else was confused. They asked, "Wait, is that a guy?" Because Atsumu's voice was high-pitched. Atsumu felt nervous. Being the center of attention wasn't easy. This was a normal private high school, unlike his old fancy academy. But it still had many students and looked nice. The fact that he came from the famous academy was kept a secret, thanks to the chairman. It would only cause trouble if people knew. The teacher smiled and said, "Your seat is in the very back center row." Atsumu nodded. As he walked to his seat, he wondered who would sit next to him. Then he saw a huge boy with big muscles sitting beside his seat. Atsumu immediately noticed how large the boy was. From his own small height of 160 centimeters, the boy looked like a giant. But just when he tried to quietly pass by, the big boy stood up and glared at him. The boy said, "Don't get cocky, transfer student." Atsumu looked up and said sorry. He didn't mean to offend him. But the boy shouted again, calling him a brat. Atsumu thought he was in trouble and couldn't reason with this guy at all. The teacher quickly told him to sit down. He looked scared. Atsumu decided to try being honest. He said, "Are you mad about the pants?" The big boy blinked. "The pants?" Atsumu pointed and said, "Yes, your pants were torn. So I stitched them for you." Everyone looked. The pants had been patched with funny stickers and pictures. There was a tiger, a bear, and even a bee. Atsumu smiled and said he thought those animals would suit the boy's strong image. He thought maybe an elephant would have been better. He had meant it kindly. But the boy got angrier. He said, "You idiot, that was fashion. Distressed pants are meant to look torn." Atsumu gasped and said, "I thought your legs were cold, so I fixed them, sorry." The class burst out laughing. The tension melted away. The boy sat down angrily but didn't fight anymore. Atsumu sighed. At least he had calmed down. Then he looked at his seat and realized someone was sitting there. He smiled and said, "What a coincidence. We meet again. Please treat me well." The girl next to him nodded and said softly, "Please treat me well too." Everyone in class froze. It was Aimee. The Ice Queen had spoken. People gasped and whispered in shock. Nobody had ever heard her speak before. Someone shouted, "No way, she just talked to the transfer student." Another said her voice was super cute. Atsumu was confused. He thought, "Did I do something wrong again?" But all eyes were on him and Aimee now, and everyone was wondering, why had the Ice Queen spoken at last? In the past, when Atsumu lived in his family house, his sisters were always streaming. He watched their work every day. Life was very busy, and his sisters often teased or ordered him around. But even during those hard times, there was one thing that gave him peace. It was watching the streams of a girl called Kaguya-chan. Her voice was cheerful and kind, and Atsumu thought she was very cute. Her streams became his comfort, and they helped him survive the stress of his daily life. He used to leave kind comments, feeling better just by listening to her. But one day, life became too busy, and he couldn't watch her streams anymore. After leaving that house and school behind, Atsumu transferred to a new school. On the way to the new school, something unexpected happened. He met a girl so beautiful that he was stunned. It was Aimee. Then, on the very first day at his new school, they met again. By chance, he was seated right next to her. Atsumu felt very happy, but he couldn't focus in class. He felt like he was bothering Himeji. Everyone, even the teacher, kept staring at him. He started to wonder if transferring to this school had been a mistake. He didn't understand why people called Himeji the Ice Queen. To him, she was kind and gentle. Her bag had many cute keychains, which didn't fit the cold image people gave her. Then he noticed something hanging on her bag. It looked familiar. Atsumu wanted to ask her about it, but he stopped himself. He thought it would be better to talk in a quiet place. Later, during the break, they both went to the rooftop together. Himeji said she liked that place because it was peaceful. Atsumu thanked her for bringing him there. They both sat down and began eating lunch. Atsumu asked her why people called her the Ice Queen. Himeji looked shy. Then she slowly explained her story. She told him that she was very shy. When people talked to her, she didn't know what to say. She always froze. People thought she was ignoring them, and slowly rumors spread. Others started saying that she was a rich girl who didn't talk to normal students. That's how she got the nickname Ice Queen. She admitted that she hated that name, but it became her image. Atsumu realized she was really upset about it. She even started crying a little. He quickly said that from now on, they could eat lunch together every day. She asked if that was really okay, and he nodded. He said they could practice talking together. Himeji agreed. Atsumu thought this practice might help her, even if it wasn't a perfect solution. But something still felt strange. He remembered how confident and chatty she was during streams. He asked her about that, and she nodded. She admitted that she could talk freely during streams, but not in real life. Then Atsumu realized something. The voice, the way she spoke, her likes, all of them felt familiar. He suddenly asked if she was Hashizuki. Himeji looked surprised. She asked how he knew. Atsumu explained that during their talk at the family restaurant, he noticed she liked the same things as Kaguya-chan. He also remembered her voice. Most of all, he saw the mascot keychain on her bag, the one she tried to hide. That mascot was the same character from her streams. It was an original design he made. Atsumu said he had seen it earlier in class. Himeji was shocked. She asked why it made him happy. He told her that he was the one who designed that mascot long ago. Its name was V. She was even more shocked. That meant he was one of her oldest fans. She said she never thought they would meet like this, but she was glad it was him. They both smiled, feeling like fate had brought them together. Then Atsumu reminded her of their goal. He said they should focus on helping her talk in real life. He asked why she could talk easily in streams but not in person. Himeji gave a sad answer. She said she didn't like how she looked. She was tall, had sharp eyes, and looked serious. She thought she didn't seem cute. She wished she was smaller and looked like a cute girl. Atsumu thought that from his view, she had a great figure and beautiful eyes. But he understood her feelings. He realized something important. Then he made a decision. He told her that from now on, he would help make her cute. Himeji was shocked. After school, Atsumu looked around with wide eyes. He was amazed. There was a big shopping mall right next to the school. It had everything. Himeji said the mall had all kinds of stores. Atsumu smiled and thanked her for showing him around again. He felt really touched. He told her this was his first time going out after school with a friend. He was so excited he couldn't stop smiling. Himeji softly said the word friend and followed behind him. They reached a makeup shop. Atsumu said he used to help with his sister's makeup, so he wanted to try helping Himeji too. She looked surprised but agreed. The lady at the counter welcomed them. She wasn't a fancy worker, just a regular woman who came back to her hometown after marriage. She always dreamed of becoming a makeup artist, but instead she took this job at the shop. She wasn't good at selling things or talking to customers. Her boss told her to just push popular items, so she worked quietly without much joy. She looked at Atsumu and Himeji and thought they looked like a sweet high school couple. The boy was small and cute, the girl was tall and very pretty, even without makeup. Atsumu politely asked if they could use the sample makeup. The woman nodded and pointed to the corner. She was touched by how kind and well-mannered he was. She gave him the tools and Atsumu began doing Himeji's makeup. At first, the woman thought he might mess it up, but when she watched closely, her eyes widened. Atsumu moved like a true artist. His hands were gentle. His color choices were perfect. Every brush stroke looked full of care. It wasn't just makeup. It was filled with love. She couldn't believe someone so young could do something so beautiful. It didn't feel like normal makeup. It felt like soft magic. After he finished, Atsumu smiled and told Himeji it was done. Himeji looked in the mirror and gasped. She couldn't believe that was her reflection. She looked so cute and bright. She felt like a different version of herself, the one she had always wanted to become. She whispered that Atsumu was amazing. Atsumu felt proud, but before he could say more, a group of girls from the shop rushed over. They had seen the makeover and were shocked. They asked Atsumu where he learned to do makeup. They begged him to do theirs too. The shop lady watched as he got surrounded like a celebrity. But Atsumu quickly grabbed Himeji's hand and said they were in the middle of a date. Then they ran off together laughing. Atsumu told her she really surprised him back there. He never expected her to help him like that. Himeji said she just didn't want anyone to ruin their special time. Then she realized what she said and turned red. Atsumu blushed too. He wondered what this strange, warm feeling was. He noticed that Himeji was now talking without any fear. She was speaking smoothly and comfortably. Himeji said it felt a lot like how she talks when streaming. She thanked Atsumu again and said she felt stronger now. He smiled. They went to clothing stores and tried on many cute outfits. Then they played games at the arcade and even caught some plush toys. They had a great time at the mall. Before heading home, they bought the makeup properly from the store. Atsumu said they managed to visit many places today. Himeji nodded and said she wanted to go to the strawberry cake shop next. Just then, they heard a loud voice. A big guy from their class spotted them. He looked confused and asked why Atsumu was with Himeji again. Atsumu felt awkward but didn't respond. Meanwhile, far away at the Atsumu family house, a young man had just arrived. He was an intern and also a YouTuber. But the moment he entered the house, someone shouted at him. They told him to stop standing around and hurry inside. They said it was his fault that they were late. The mood in the house was turning dark. Something bad was brewing behind the scenes. A quiet storm had begun in the Atsumu family. 2 days ago, a boy named Atsumu Kamemi was fired from an entertainment agency. He used to work there as a special manager and did many different jobs. The president of the company removed him, and the secretary felt helpless. She knew it was the wrong decision but couldn't do anything about it. Now, after Atsumu was gone, the secretary had to handle lots of phone calls and rescheduling. Everything felt messy without Atsumu. Still, nothing terrible had happened yet. She just hoped that the girl the president had chosen to replace Atsumu was doing fine. At a TV station in the downtown area, the fifth daughter of the famous family was angry. She shouted at the new intern. She said the intern had made her late, and now her perfect image was ruined. She used to be known for always being on time, super cute, and good at her work. The intern tried to explain that she had knocked and shouted many times to wake her up. But the fifth daughter refused to listen. The intern was a second-year high school student who was working as a new manager at the entertainment agency. The girl had done her best, but the fifth daughter kept blaming her. A crew member came and reminded the fifth daughter that her break time was over. Suddenly, the girl changed her mood, smiled, and thanked the crew member politely. The intern was shocked by this fake behavior. The fifth daughter was a top idol in the group called Prism. She was very popular online and was loved by many fans. People liked her for her cute looks and her honest and bold words. But now the intern had seen her true personality. She wondered if she could handle this job. Still, the intern decided to stay strong. She had finally gotten a chance to work with a famous person, so she would try her best. Later in the car, the fifth daughter told the intern to do her makeup. The intern was confused. She thought makeup should be done by a proper artist, not by a manager. But the fifth daughter didn't care. She told the intern it was a manager's job too. The intern had never heard anything like this before. She knew that even trained professionals sometimes found it hard to do celebrity makeup. It was even harder when there was no time. The fifth daughter suddenly thought about Atsumu. She remembered how gently and skillfully he had done her makeup. Then she gave her makeup bag to the intern and told her to do it quickly. She said there was no time left before recording, and maybe the intern wanted to make her look bad again. That night at the mansion, the fifth daughter was furious. She threw her things around in anger. She shouted that the intern had ruined her day twice. First she made her late. Then her makeup had to be redone at the set, which made the producer angry again. The other members of her idol group had started whispering behind her back. She felt like everyone was turning against her. She thought everything had been fine after Atsumu left, but now it was worse. She cursed and said she was completely fed up. Then she opened a drink called Zambi and took a sip. It made her feel better. She loved the feeling of doing whatever she wanted without anyone stopping her. She imagined Atsumu living on the street, cold and homeless. That made her smile. She picked up her phone and took some pretty selfies. She posted them online. She said her fans were fools and making things go viral was easy. She wanted attention. She laughed and waited for the likes and comments to pour in. Very soon, her post became popular. People saw it, and it started trending online. The next morning, everything changed. The secretary of the agency got a phone call. A company was angry. They shouted at her and said they were canceling their commercial deal. The secretary was confused and asked why. The caller said it was because of the photo posted by their talent. The secretary was shocked. She hadn't seen the post yet. She quickly checked social media to see what was going on. When she saw the photo the fifth daughter had posted, her face turned pale. Now the whole family and the agency came to understand something very important. The reason everything had been going well before, the peace, the success, the smooth work, was all because of Atsumu. Atsumu was just hanging out with Himeji when suddenly, a big boy came stomping toward them. His face looked angry. He asked why Atsumu was hanging out with Himeji. Atsumu blinked, confused, and said they were just spending time like normal people. But the big boy didn't calm down. He stared harder. Atsumu thought for a second, maybe the boy actually wanted to hang out with them too. Just then, the big boy's friends pointed at Atsumu and shouted that he was the shrimp who beat them up at the convenience store. Atsumu was shocked. He thought, what? That never happened. The big boy stepped closer and said Atsumu had messed with his boys and also reminded him about the pants incident. Atsumu blinked again, confused, but then he remembered the weird app from before. He offered to fix the problem, but the big boy didn't want to talk. He threw a punch. Atsumu moved fast and dodged. His heart beat faster, but he didn't hit back. He just asked everyone to calm down, but the big boy wasn't listening. He shouted that Atsumu couldn't understand his feelings. He said he was a black belt in karate and that Atsumu wouldn't dodge the next move. Atsumu sighed. He didn't want to fight, but it looked like he had no choice. The big boy rushed at him. Atsumu blocked his punch with one hand, twisted his arm, and gently threw him on the ground. Everyone around was shocked. Even the big boy's friends gasped. Himeji stood frozen. She thought Atsumu looked so cool, but then she remembered. This wasn't a safe place. Maybe they should leave quickly. Later, Atsumu and the big boy sat down in a restaurant. The fight was over. It was time to talk. Atsumu asked if they could chat peacefully now. He asked what the boy meant about not being understood. The big boy looked sad. He said it must be nice to be strong and go on dates with pretty girls. He said he got laughed at in front of Himeji and felt embarrassed. He said he was jealous. His friends agreed. They all looked down. Atsumu listened carefully. He said becoming friends with Himeji was just a coincidence. But yes, Himeji was pretty. Maybe people thought he was popular because of her. Atsumu smiled and said that from his view, the three of them looked cool too. The boys looked confused. The big boy said that couldn't be true. He said girls never liked them because of how they looked. Each boy shared their problem. One said he had single eyelids, so people thought he always looked angry. Another said his pale skin and long hair made him look scary. The big boy said his face and body were big, so girls felt afraid of him. They said they acted like delinquents just to look cool. But it wasn't working. Atsumu understood, but he gently told them that hurting others or causing trouble was never okay. The boys nodded. They were sorry. Atsumu thought they weren't bad-looking at all. Then Himeji suddenly asked if Atsumu could do makeup for the three boys. Atsumu blinked, surprised. Makeup. But he said yes. He'd try his best. He started working. For the boy with single eyelids, he used eyeshadow to make his eyes look cooler and longer. For the pale boy, he used foundation to give his face more color, and he styled his hair to look soft and gentle. For the big boy, he used makeup to bring out his strong, reliable features in a good way. When the boys looked in the mirror, they were shocked. They couldn't believe their eyes. They said it felt like a dream. Atsumu smiled. He was happy they liked it. The big boy said now they didn't need to act like delinquents anymore. Now they could talk to others with confidence. Atsumu nodded. But he also told them one last thing. He said looks could change, but what really mattered was learning to love yourself the way you are. The boys listened carefully. They looked at Atsumu with respect and called him sensei. Himeji smiled too. She told Atsumu it must have been hard to do makeup for three people. Atsumu said it wasn't that big of a deal. He had done way more work before. Then Atsumu looked at Himeji and asked how she felt after all that. She said she was fine now. She understood how the boys felt. Atsumu looked at the sky and realized it had gotten late. He apologized. Himeji probably wanted to visit more places, but Himeji smiled and said it was okay. They could always go together again another time. Atsumu's heart felt warm. He was so happy. He had never felt this accepted before. Just then, the three boys came running back. They asked if they could take some photos with Himeji. She agreed, and they took pictures together. After that, everyone went their own way. It had been a crazy day, but Atsumu smiled and thought, this must be what youth is all about. He hoped they could all make more memories like this. Himeji heard her name called by a boy after school. She turned and asked what he had said. The boy, excited and nervous, asked her if she would like to go on a date with him. Himeji made a strange face, looking both surprised and annoyed. She told him it was impossible for her to go with him. Feeling hurt, the boy asked why. As she turned to leave, students gathered around, whispering behind her back. They said it wasn't for nothing that she was called the Ice Queen. Another student muttered they weren't worthy of her. The boys around called him another victim and claimed the rumors were true. Some students scolded her and tried to bully her. Imeji, growing pale and trembling, tried to explain they misunderstood. But no one listened, and they all accused her. She finally gathered her courage and said she couldn't go on a date because she already had plans with someone else after school. Deep inside, she remembered she had been able to speak normally after doing her makeup yesterday, but she was still nervous and found it hard to speak well. With tears in her eyes, she ran away from the place, telling herself she had to ask Sakasegawa-kun to teach her makeup again. On the first day of Go, news spread quickly that Himeji and a transfer student had spoken to each other. After some backstabbing and harsh words, Himeji finally learned how to talk to other students. Because of their actions, the school became filled with the tears of brave souls who tried and failed to answer Himeji during lunch. In another scene, a boy praised Himeji for doing very well. She softly mumbled that it tickled a little but kept trying. She asked if that was all. Together, they stood on the school roof, a space just for the two of them, where no one could disturb them. The boy told her she learned fast and called her amazing. He said she was very skilled, able to do it right after being taught. She thanked him, saying it was only because Sakasegawa-kun was a good teacher. Laughing, he told her he wasn't sure if it was true but was glad to hear it. After what happened the day before, he realized Himeji could speak normally when wearing makeup. Because she wanted to talk to more people, he decided to teach her how to do makeup so she could do it herself. She apologized to him, but he told her there was no need. He promised to do her makeup any time if she asked because they were friends. Shocked, she asked if he meant for their whole lives, and he answered yes, politely telling her she could trust him forever. She admitted that even with makeup on, she sometimes got stuck and couldn't speak easily. It was still hard to hold a conversation so quickly. But thanks to him, she had been able to start enjoying her school life. He understood it wasn't easy and knew there was still one problem left. In his mind, he thought about his money running out. So far, he had covered his food expenses with what was left, but soon it would be gone. Living cost money, including food and entertainment. From next month, he'd have to pay rent on his own. The first month's rent had been paid by the principal of his previous school, but now he faced a real money problem. He wished he could find a job that would pay him right away. At Hirabayashi High School, a brand new car stopped in front of the gates. A beautiful girl stepped out, excited to see the place. She told herself this was the new school and decided to go find him. After school, Himeji asked Sakasegawa-kun if they could go home together. He agreed, but suddenly they noticed a large crowd gathered in the courtyard. A new girl had arrived with her bodyguard, and many students blocked the way. Fans shouted they had followed her since her debut and begged for an autograph. She rudely told them to go to the agency for that. Others asked to take pictures with her. Watching the scene, Atsumu wondered what was happening. The girl saw him, and with relief, she finally reached him. She was Asuka from the idol group Asterisk. Students around them started whispering, questioning what relationship he had with her, and if he was really dating the Ice Queen. Some girls pointed out he had been the first to talk to Himeji. Atsumu felt shocked and remembered that at such a young age, he had become someone important in the entertainment industry. He realized he had worked behind the scenes for so long that he wasn't used to being the center of attention, and the situation had become overwhelming. Ashaya, an idol herself, didn't know much about the idol world. Asuka was the center of the group Asterisk, the most important and popular idol group. His friend thought it was amazing. Atsumu explained to them that Asuka and he had gone to the same school before he transferred. Even though she had been busy and had few friends, she had always treated him kindly. Then, Asuka came closer, held his hand, and asked to talk in private. Surprised by her boldness, he didn't expect it but followed her. Imeji, watching them go, felt sad and questioned if they had been together at their previous school and if Asuka had truly treated him kindly. Her eyes filled with tears. Inside the car, Atsumu nervously asked where they were going and what she meant by dragging him away. Asuka stayed silent at first, ignoring his questions. He wondered if she had kidnapped him. Calmly, she told him to relax and explained there was no need for honorifics, telling him to just call her Asuka. Atsumu hesitated, thinking it felt strange to call someone by their first name. She reassured him she didn't mind. When he asked again why she had dragged him away, she denied kidnapping him. She pointed out he didn't have any money left and offered him a job, asking him to support her from now on. Atsumu wasn't sure if he could do it, but she confidently told him she believed in his talent and wanted him by her side. He felt glad to hear her praise but still worried. Asuka insisted, excitedly promising to pay him immediately, even if he started right away. Atsumu hesitated and thought to himself that if she paid him for work, his money problems would be solved, although it felt too good to be true. She got closer and told him to please do it and support her. He agreed, happy to accept her offer. And so this was how he became Asuka's supporter. Asuka suddenly took Atsumu out of school, asking for his AO. She was the center of the hugely popular idol group Asterisk and had known Atsumu for quite some time. Atsumu couldn't help but wonder what this was all about, but Asuka just kept singing, her voice steady and clear as always. It was a direct request from the nation's top idol, and Atsumu felt a mix of confusion and curiosity about what she wanted from him. Until then, he had been supporting Kei, fulfilling his duties quietly in the background. In families born into entertainment, there was something known as the Song of Youth, and Atsumu thought about this when Asuka, standing before him, suddenly asked about the beautiful girl next to him. Nervous and caught off guard, he answered they were only friends. In his head, he thought Asuka must be referring to Hameji-san. Scared that she might misunderstand, he repeated they were nothing more than friends. Yet Asuka's expression turned terrible in response, and he felt a rising dread. He thought he might have to explain himself later to Hameji and maybe even apologize. Though they had planned to spend time together afterward, Atsumu ended up dropping Hameji off at school instead. Then, facing him seriously, Asuka told him not to think about that girl. She reminded him he had said he'd support her but accused him of being distracted instead. Her words turned colder as she said she would now make sure he only thought about her. Telling him to get ready, she left him no room to argue. He could only answer yes, his mind turning over the realization that she really was a famous, untouchable figure, yet here she was speaking to him so directly. She was the undisputed No. 1 idol. Arriving at Astra's headquarters inside Nishimoto's studio, Atsumu learned they were there to film a new music video. Asuka announced in front of everyone that Go would be doing the makeup for all the members. Surprised, Atsumu asked if she truly meant all the members, as he thought he was there just to help Asuka. Asuka turned the question on him, asking if he couldn't do it. Atsumu realized she really did mean it. All the members already knew. She confirmed she had seen his work back when he had been with Matsuki from Prison. Even then, he hesitated and asked again, not sure if it was really okay. But Asuka cut off his doubts, telling him to go. She called him useless for hesitating, and Atsumu found himself questioning if he truly was the right choice. Nearby, chief photographer Takashi Ozumi commented to Asuka that she always found ways to surprise him, praising her for the song's powerful lyrics. Asuka thanked him, explaining she had put all her feelings into them and would pour even more emotion into the recording that day. Ozumi encouraged her, saying he looked forward to working together again, and she bowed respectfully in return. Watching them, Atsumu thought it must feel reassuring to have someone like that by one's side, something only someone like Asuka, the top idol, could have. Asuka explained about the dressing room and the upcoming shoot, reminding Atsumu how important this was. He worried he might cause trouble and ruin everything. If it came down to money, he even offered to help pay for another artist. Doubting himself, he suggested they choose someone else. He admitted honestly he didn't think he could do it. But Asuka reminded him she had chosen him because she had seen him work. She didn't pick him out of pity or as a backup. For her, Go was enough. When he entered the dressing room, Atsumu was shocked to see the idols already inside. All the girls noticed him and teased each other about greeting the boy properly. Embarrassed, Atsumu apologized, saying he didn't see anything. Asuka apologized too, admitting it was her fault, repeating it again with genuine regret. The girls found themselves blushing at the awkward situation, realizing he should have knocked first. Even Asuka seemed flustered. A young idol, Kuon, acknowledged it had been her own carelessness and apologized. Asuka's apology softened her stance, though Kuon teased that seeing underwear wasn't something to be forgiven so lightly. Another girl remarked that underwear wasn't so different from a swimsuit, but Kuon insisted she couldn't forgive him easily just because of that. Some girls told her to raise her head, while they pointed out that Atsumu had seen Kuromi-chan's underwear too. Kuon finally said it couldn't be helped, but asked why he cared so much about it. She hinted she would rather he saw even more than just that. Atsumu quietly accepted responsibility, knowing it wouldn't have happened if not for him. He understood that being a makeup artist meant building a bond, and wondered what he should do next. Another idol, Suzuka, decided to let it go this time and thanked him. The atmosphere settled, and the girls turned to Asuka, asking her to introduce him properly since the mistake had started with her. Asuka admitted she had planned to do that anyway. The girls reacted with mild surprise, questioning if it was okay for a high school student to take on such responsibility. They hesitated, acknowledging the importance of the upcoming shoot. Atsumu panicked, worried it was too big for him. The girls requested he do his best, even if there were many of them. Asuka apologized again, and though most forgave her, Kuon stood firm. She repeated this song was special, and she couldn't accept that a high school student who had just embarrassed them would be in charge of their makeup. Asuka bowed her head deeply and apologized, including Go in her apology. Kuon softened slightly, telling Asuka she was glad to see her feel that way. Kuon urged her to say something decisive. Asuka then declared that Go wasn't just a high school student, he was the best makeup artist in her eyes. She said she trusted him completely and knew she wouldn't regret her choice. Hearing Asuka's conviction, the other girls agreed. If Asuka trusted him, so would they. Atsumu felt a mix of relief and inadequacy. Another girl added that she'd go along too. Slowly, they decided to support Asuka's choice, recognizing her dedication. They suggested they start over and asked Atsumu to introduce himself properly this time. The mood eased, though Atsumu still felt awkward standing in front of all of them. His friend's words echoed in his mind, reminding him everything would be fine. Atsumu realized maybe only Asuka would believe in him like this. With determination, he stepped forward and introduced himself as Atsumu, the one responsible for their makeup that day. He promised to support them with all his strength. At last, Go would step onto the idol stage and show what he could do. A new music video for Asuka-san's #1 idol group, Asterisk, was underway. They had placed their trust in Atsumu to handle the makeup for the shoot, and that trust meant everything to him. Deep inside, Atsumu carried a quiet determination to repay the faith Asuka-san had shown him by giving nothing less than his best. As the filming began, Atsumu threw himself into his work. He checked every detail carefully, every brush stroke, every blend of color, wanting to make sure that the group shone in front of the camera. Time seemed to slip through his fingers before he even noticed. The entire filming session had come to an end. When the last cut was called, the staff gathered to thank everyone for their hard work. Atsumu paused, reflecting silently that he truly had given all the effort he could. Asuka-san noticed and offered words of acknowledgement, telling Atsumu he had done a good job. Atsumu, though, felt strangely nervous replying, not even sure why his heart beat faster around her praise. It wasn't just professional respect. It was a genuine wish not to disappoint the person who had believed in him. A girl from the group stepped forward, confessing she didn't know every detail, but explaining they had come together to thank him. Atsumu was taken aback. He hadn't expected gratitude for something he considered simply his duty. Asuka-san then explained that, thanks to Atsumu's work, they were able to capture some truly good shots. Atsumu responded with humility, insisting the video turned out well because everyone had worked so hard, and his role was just the makeup. Suzuka interrupted, disagreeing gently but firmly. She pointed out that it wasn't just about applying makeup. Atsumu had paid careful attention to every part of the shoot. The lights, the camera, the choreography. She had noticed he checked these details before even starting her makeup. Suzuka declared that someone so meticulous wasn't just doing a job, but acting as a real professional. She revealed, almost as an aside, that this wasn't only her opinion. Rosa, the representative, had said the same thing proudly. Asuka-san tried to stop Suzuka, telling her to calm down, but the director joined in, telling Atsumu not to be modest. The director insisted that everything went perfectly, and a big part of that was because of Atsumu's quiet support. Hearing this, Atsumu could only repeat the director's words in surprise, hardly believing they were serious. But a crew member spoke up, confirming that they had all learned a lot from watching him work. Suzuka, with teasing curiosity, demanded to know what else Atsumu had done behind the scenes that none of them had noticed. Atsumu asked what they meant, genuinely puzzled. The director explained that Atsumu hadn't limited himself to makeup. He had quietly helped them throughout the entire shoot. Atsumu struggled to understand, asking himself what exactly they were talking about. The lighting team revealed that when they had lighting issues, Atsumu stepped in to help. The camera crew admitted he helped them too, offering advice or support when they ran into difficulties. Even the choreography team said that he had given them quiet assistance. Suzuka's eyes widened in realization. It turned out Atsumu hadn't just done the makeup. He had supported the entire production team. Asuka-san added, as if explaining something few had known, that perhaps nobody realized Go's previous job had been to serve as the manager for all the prison members. This revelation only made Suzuka more confused. She couldn't quite understand what it meant for Atsumu to be both a makeup artist and a manager who could handle technical aspects of production. Seeing the confusion, Asuka-san explained the situation clearly to everyone. Suzuka reflected on how Atsumu's makeup work had always been perfect, but it surprised her even more to learn he had been responsible for lighting and production tasks as well. The director admitted that he'd never heard of someone like Atsumu, someone who could do so much quietly behind the scenes. Yet the director offered Atsumu a job right then, saying if he was available, they could really use someone like him. Mikage Hoshikage agreed, supporting the idea with enthusiasm. Asuka-san herself confessed she felt grateful to have Atsumu there. Then President Hoshikage arrived. He had already heard about Atsumu from Asuka-san, and had even watched the new video on his way. Atsumu realized this was someone from Asuka's office, someone important. President Hoshikage praised Atsumu's skill, explaining that thanks to his efforts, he had seen a new expression on Asuka's face, a look that perhaps wouldn't have appeared otherwise. He thanked Atsumu sincerely and offered him a chance to work with them in their office. Another crew member backed this idea, warmly welcoming Atsumu. The director added that with Atsumu's help, they could do even more incredible things. Asuka-san gently insisted that it might not be a bad idea. She believed she could reach greater heights if Atsumu was by her side, offering him an invitation to join them again. Atsumu paused, caught between temptation and something deeper inside him. He questioned whether he truly should work alongside Asuka-san again. Asuka-san then invited him directly, suggesting they go out again, meaning they could work together once more. Atsumu, after a moment of struggle, apologized. He addressed Asuka-san and the chief, explaining there was something else he wanted to do. Deep down, he admitted he didn't think his skills were enough yet. More than anything, he wished to live a normal high school life, something simple and real that he hadn't truly experienced. Atsumu apologized again, saying he was sorry for disappointing Asuka-san. She accepted it, though not without frustration, ending the conversation by calling him a fool. But her frustration didn't last long. She quickly promised that if he ever wanted, he could come to the studio and watch their choreography practice. She offered to lend him the lights, and if he wanted to use the camera, all he had to do was ask. The other girls rallied, deciding to get back to work. Before they did, they expressed their hope that they could meet Atsumu again someday. They asked him to do their makeup next time, even suggesting it could be for a swimsuit photo shoot. One girl teased Atsumu, accusing him of daring to reject Asuka-san's invitation, but then softened, telling him that as long as he didn't spy on them again, he would always be welcome back. Atsumu, in his own heart, realized that Asuka-san truly was someone very interesting. He quietly apologized for turning down her offer. Finally, he thanked everyone for their hard work and took a moment to reflect. For Atsumu, the experience had become more than just a task. Step by step, day by day, the song they had filmed had turned into something deeply personal, an important song that helped him rediscover his sense of achievement. It reminded him why he worked so hard, why he cared so deeply. And even though he chose to step away for now, the memory of that day, that team, and that song stayed with him, lighting a quiet resolve for whatever would come next. Inside the car at night, Himeji sat quietly, her expression gentle yet hopeful. A soft smile curved her lips as she thought about the gift she'd chosen. Deep down, she believed he would accept it. Perhaps next time, if another misunderstanding happened, he might even like it. The thought gave her a faint sense of relief, a small spark of hope that things could go differently. Atsumu's mind drifted to a recent memory, replaying in his thoughts like an unfinished story. Back then, he had been at the makeup studio, pacing restlessly, his body worn out by stress. Exhaustion tugged at his shoulders, but the memory felt strangely vivid. He still remembered how Ashiya, yes, the idol himself, had practically kidnapped him to the set. Atsumu hadn't had much choice. He had to do the full makeup for the entire idol group's promotional video. The weight of that responsibility had pressed on him heavily, but in the end, something unexpected happened. The shoot had gone surprisingly well, each brush stroke blending seamlessly into the next, and even the strict, often impossible-to-please president had given his nod of approval. Thinking back, it felt like a rare moment of triumph in his otherwise unpredictable life. Days later, in the familiar school hallway bathed in soft daylight, Atsumu found himself reflecting on how strange fate could be. He had truly believed his path would lead him to work alongside Asuka in New York, a city full of bright lights and endless creative promise. Instead, life had led him back to the quieter, almost forgotten halls of school. Just when he thought he had settled into that reality, his phone had lit up with an unexpected message. Yes, you can watch Kaguya-chan's stream now. The words had stunned him, but in the best way possible. It felt like a small miracle. Asuka had given him a phone, a gift that felt heavier than it looked. "Don't worry about money anymore," she had said. "Just use this." Those words had stayed with him. Since leaving home, Atsumu hadn't owned a phone, hadn't dared to think he could. Now it was there in his hand, a symbol of kindness he hadn't asked for but deeply needed. Even so, there was something curious about it. The wallpaper, set by Asuka herself, felt oddly personal, maybe even a bit strange, but it was his now, and that mattered most. Stepping into the classroom again, Atsumu couldn't help feeling a rush of excitement. It had been so long since he felt like he truly belonged somewhere. Himeji's expression softened slightly, the tension easing from her features. She seemed to accept it, and that small change in her face gave Atsumu hope. A moment later, still in the classroom, Atsumu let out a breath of relief and smiled. Somehow he had managed to get through to Himeji. He even showed off his new phone, proud and a little shy about it. Asuka turned to the teacher and asked if she could sit beside Atsumu. The teacher agreed without hesitation. Inside, Atsumu felt panic bubble up. Now he was stuck between two beautiful girls, an impossible situation. Should he feel happy, grateful for the attention, or deeply worried about what might come next? Asuka's teasing voice pulled him from his thoughts. She asked if she had surprised him. Atsumu, confused and half-panicked, asked why she had come here. Asuka's answer was calm but firm. She had come because she wanted to share her school life with him. She wouldn't let anyone else have him. She moved closer, her expression effortlessly cool, reminding Atsumu she had already given him her number the day before. There was no need to exchange contacts again. Her words were simple but carried weight. And just like that, the air seemed to shift. Their rivalry had begun, a golden pigtail cat facing off against a mysterious fairy. Atsumu realized that his normal school life had officially come to an end. Quietly, almost as a vow, he told himself goodbye to the ordinary and hello to the unpredictable world of a Magasaki house. No matter what came next, it was time to become the best version of himself. She could feel frustration bubbling up in her chest, a dull ache tightening every time she thought of that perfectly timed smile. Even that smile seemed calculated, designed to look effortlessly innocent in front of everyone else. It wasn't fair, she thought, clenching her jaw just slightly. If this continued, not only would I not be on top, but my entire showbiz career could be over. That thought felt like falling. For a moment, her vision blurred and the noise of the world around her seemed to fade away, replaced by the deafening roar of fear. But somewhere in that panic, a small spark of rationality fought to break through. Wait, there's still time, she told herself. Desperation sharpened into determination. She knew what had to be done. Her fingers tightened around her phone as if she could squeeze certainty from it. All I have to do is delete the photo, she thought. Her thumb hovered for barely a second before she hit delete. She forced herself to exhale, feeling a tiny bit of the pressure ease. That's better, she whispered under her breath. Deleting the photo should make it disappear from everyone's feeds, bury the mistake before it spread any further. That was enough, wasn't it? Surely that would stop things from getting worse. But before she could lean into that fragile relief, her phone buzzed again. The screen lit up with a familiar name. It's the rookie again, she thought, a mixture of curiosity and mild annoyance flickering through her. What's up this time? She answered, ready to brush it off. But before she could say much, the rookie's voice spilled through the line. It was unsteady, tinged with urgency and panic. Please don't hang up on me, the rookie pleaded. The words made her pause, but only briefly. The rookie's hesitation cracked through, then the real reason emerged, wanting to talk about the fact that the photo she had posted yesterday had already made the news. A spike of irritation flashed through her. Of course it had made the news. That was obvious. Trying to keep her voice calm, she brushed off the rookie's worry, explaining that she had already deleted the photo. That should have been enough, she thought. Why drag it out? But then came the rookie's reaction. You deleted it. The way it was repeated back to her, so carefully, so uncertainly, caught her off guard. For a single, sharp heartbeat, her thoughts froze. The weight of what she had just done sank in, heavier than she'd expected. This isn't good, she realized as dread coiled in her stomach. Deleting the photo had felt like a quick fix, but the rookie's reaction forced her to see what it really meant. If you delete it without giving an explanation, it would be like admitting guilt. The words rang in her head, her own voice turning against her, repeating the truth she hadn't wanted to face. Panic, briefly pushed aside, came surging back, stronger and more suffocating than before. All the confidence she had clung to felt like it was slipping through her fingers. She cursed silently, her heart racing. In that moment, the cold, crushing reality settled in. A single misstep, one careless choice, could be enough to bring everything crashing down. The fame, the attention, the fragile place she had carved out for herself. It all hung by a thread. And for the first time, she saw just how close she was to losing it all.